back, folks. This is Joe with Steel Blade Woodworks, and today we're bringing you the Harbor Freight 2 horsepower dust collection system upgrade. We're going to be turning the single stage into a 2-stage, and I wanted to bring y'all along on the modifications I did and show you the products that I used. I used Grizzly products in this upgrade, and we use the Cyclone separator from Grizzly, which is the G0863, and the Grizzly filter, which is the H5783. Now, this filter fits perfect on that filter ring. It mounts, it's got foam, and it seals up, so that's a good filter if you're going to try to do this to use. There's other products, not saying you have to use it, but it worked out very good for me. I wanted to hit on this Cyclone separator because when you purchase this product from Grizzly, this Cyclone is actually made to bolt straight up to the lid of this dust collector, so you can roll it around to the machine and hook it in line to one of these single stages and make it a 2-stage. Well, I'm not gonna be doing that. I'm gonna mount it. I had plans to mount it on the wall, so I had to modify it, as you can see. So I wanted to touch on the modification that I did. I actually made 2 adapters, one for the Cyclone and one for the lid of the barrel, and I attached it with a 6-inch spiral pipe. The other modification that we did on this was basically we used a 6-inch Fernco, and I modified the input port of the blower housing, and I opened it up to a 6-inch, and later on in the video I'll describe why I did it and what was the reason behind it. This basically came as a complete unit, so that's why I went that route of purchasing it and decided to use it for this upgrade on this project here. We went with Uni-strut to mount this dust collector to the wall, and reason that we did it in this configuration was to get this exhaust port here directly in line with the filter ring to help aid in trying to stop any kind of restriction that would happen as you see it when it's set up on the cart when you buy it from Harbor Freight. It's got a pretty long hose, and that adds some restriction in there. So we omitted that, and I wanted it up and high on the wall in order to get the correct angle and stuff that I needed for the CNC. So other than that, we went ahead and used this Y that comes with this Cyclone and tied it in to the overhead dust collection arm for the CNC. So that being said, let's move on, and we're going to get into all the other steps that we took as we progressed in the upgrade of this machine. Let's move on. And the reason you're seeing it set up this way is because I'm taking readings, and what we're going to try to do is show you throughout the process with the bag, the filter bag, what the reading is basically stock. That's stock, other than we shorten this hose a little bit. So we're going to get CFM readings, and then we're going to show you once we mount the separator on there what kind of readings we get, if they're going to go down, which should be kind of expected, because as you add things to this, it should play with those numbers. And then once we add the filter that I got from Grizzly and replace the bag, we're going to show you how those numbers look, and we're going to be taking readings throughout this whole process. Another thing on this 5-inch, if you're going to leave it there and not go through the process of making one or buying there's an adapter, I recommend you take this piece out there. And that's just kind of, you may not think it may make a big difference, but that is causing some restriction in there. So we omitted this part. This is set in there so in case you take in a big object or something, this will block it from going into the impeller. But since we're putting a separator on there, we shouldn't have that problem anymore. So we cut this out. So let me get this set up. It's on max. And I'm going to fire this up. Okay, so right there on that step, I got a little reducer that I bought. It's an HVAC fitting to reduce it down to a 4-inch spiral pipe, and we're estimating about 3 foot. And we came up with the reading CFM flow of 782.7. Okay, that stock. Nothing's changed, and if it was sitting on the cart that you get when you purchase that from Harbor Freight, that's the way it would set up minus that little pipe. But that pipe would probably actually restrict it a little more, so that number would be lower. So I think Harbor Freight advertises this as 1500 CFM. Well, they're not going to get that with this hooked up. They probably are testing this site or this collector without this portion on and just open. If we were to take that off, that reading would shoot up because it has no restriction. It's allowing to pass through more air. So these are actual readings. Now, mind you, I'm just going to put, I need to put a disclaimer. I'm not affiliated with anybody, any equipment that I'm using throughout this video. This is bought and paid for with my own money, and I'm doing this because I've always been curious to see what this thing will actually do. And we're going to do some upgrades, and it'll help you out if you're interested in doing it in your garage or whatever, your shop, to help you put a 2-stage collector on a budget. Okay, and so right there as we sit, we're at 782.7. All right, guys, welcome back, and we're going to do a test now with the bag filter and this new bigger port that we made. This takes this up to a 6-inch on the intake. And we're going to go ahead and get a CFM reading here at the end of this pipe just to see where we're kind of sitting at. So I built this intake with the hope that it's going to increase the flow going in. So let's go ahead and get a reading, and then what we'll do is we'll take the bag off and put the filter and get another reading and see where we're at. So let me get it going. Alright, so that was a significant jump just by adding that port on there. So we went from, let me compare my notes here so I give you all the right readings. Okay, so with the original cover on there that's 5 inches, we reduced it down to 4, and at 4 inches with the piece of spiral pipe, we measured out at 783.9 CFM. By adding that adapter and bringing that up to 6 inch, we increased it to 1,236 CFM. Hopefully that's focusing in right. That's a significant jump. So the next test, we're going to take the bag filter off, and we're going to go ahead and put the Grizzly filter on. Okay, so with that reading, with that filter, it actually brought it down a little bit, but by not much. We're talking 30 CFM, 33 CFM. We're at 1190, which is still real good for that dust collector. And that's with no impeller upgrade. So what's happening is, yes, the filter, you would think it would allow it to go even higher, but no, because it's actually trapping. It's got more of a surface area, but it's trapping more of the smaller particles. So it is kind of restricting the flow from coming out. So, which in return will only allow so much to go in to get it out, if you can understand that. So, I did a pull on it without the Cyclone. So with just this adapter, we have a 6-inch port now with a piece of 3-foot 6-inch spiral hose, and we got 1,226 CFM out of it. Then I went ahead and mounted the Cyclone back up, hooked everything up, and that's just with the bag. We haven't added the filter in yet. So with the bag and the Cyclone, we're going to do a pull on it now and see what we get. All right, that pull on a 4-inch port through the Cyclone with the added upgrade on the port intake, we got 774.5 CFM. And that's with the stock bag filter, and we just upgraded that intake port, and it made a significant difference. And that's the stock impeller. So down the road, if we do upgrade to the bigger impeller, it's going to bring that up even more. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set that Grizzly filter up, take the bag off, and see if we go up in CFM. So let's try it out and see what we get. So it went up just a little bit, 781.5. This is just made for this CNC, 781 CFM. I don't know what it'll actually drop once I get it to here, but we'll do a test on that. Is way plenty for this thing. I don't see that I need to do any more. Later on down the road, if I want to upgrade to the bigger impeller, I think it's going to be just fine. So with that being said, we'll get it hooked up and then do an actual pull here at the boot of the CNC and get a final reading, and we'll call this done. All right, folks, so here you see it done, hooked up. At this portion, you've already seen all the modifications that we did, readings, and the last reading that we needed to do was get it here at the port for the CNC. So in doing that, we found out some interesting things, and the first one I want to hit on is taking a reading at this port here without the blast gate, and I'm stressing on that because when you buy these blast gates, you buy them as 4-inch. Well, it's 4-inch on the outside, but it's 3.5 inches on the inside, and that restricts this very heavily. And we found this out because I collaborated through this whole build with a good buddy of mine, Matt from Wackey Worx. And Matt decided when I was telling him I was going to do this, he has a system, a Harbor Freight dust collector system that he upgraded, and he saw it as a perfect opportunity to go ahead and tear his back down, do a little bit more modifications that he wanted to do, but at the same time we could compare our readings, our flows. But the cool thing about it is that he used Oneida products and I used Grizzly. I went Grizzly for the separator and for the filter, and he used Oneida and Wynn filters for his. And the reason I'm mentioning is this because to this point, I didn't upgrade the impeller. Matt did. So after you see this, you need to head on over to Wackey Worx and check out his video and see the impressive numbers that he got when he went that extra step with that impeller. And he's getting some astronomical readings off of that dust collector on a massive shop of his that's connected to multiple pieces of equipment with long runs, and it's very impressive what you can get out of that when it's done correctly. Now mind you, you're going to have some restriction in here, especially with that filter, because you took the bag, which is 5 microns off, which that allows more air to go through that bag, but you're not trapping the harmful dust that needs to be trapped, right? So when you put the filter on, you automatically think, yeah, your readings may go up a little bit, but everything you add from that intake port down is going to drop your CFM readings. So, but then you have that restriction that has more surface area, but it's comparable to a MERV 15, which is 0.3 to 0.5 microns, which it's going to trap a bunch of that harmful stuff that you don't want to be breathing in. It's not a fix-all, but it's going to help, and that's what you want to accomplish. So you're going to sacrifice some of your CFMs by doing that, but you're gaining on your health. Okay? So we ended up from 731, 732, you take the blast gate off, remove this blast gate and take it just right at the port without this blast gate, and it's going to error out this anemometer. And this anemometer, I'll touch on it in a minute, goes up pretty high. So this restricts it a lot. So anyhow, the reading I got at this port was 600 CFM. So we dropped 132 CFM, but that goes to show you when you reduce it down to 4-inch and your bends, it's gonna have an effect on this when you start introducing components. So what needs to happen is what they've always said, you need to try to run the biggest pipe you can for 5 to 10 feet out before you start branching off. And when you branch off, use 45s instead of hard 90s. And eventually you're gonna have to probably go to 4-inch. But one of the biggest things that I can probably recommend is try to minimize the use of spiral pipe as much as possible. Spiral pipe is gonna kill you, especially when you start putting bends, and it just drastically drops your flow. So one of the other things that I wanted to touch on this here in the closing is on these anemometers. These are both same brands. We got an HP866B by Whole Peak. This is good up to 5,500 feet per minute. This will work probably taking readings at your machines to find out, but if you want to try to get some of these readings that we were trying to do, HP856A. Now this thing is good. It's handheld, and this will convert your readings to CFM by putting in the coefficients of the size of pipe that you're trying to read through. So I recommend this. This has been a real good little device, and you can get this off of Amazon for about a little less than 60 bucks, somewhere in there. So that's something that if you want to try to get readings on your dust collection, you can use it. We did it for the purpose of this video, and I'll be using it a lot more in other areas, so we went ahead and purchased it. So the final reading here, 600 CFM. We'll see what it does once I get the CNC powered up and going. I think it's going to be fine. Another deal that I highly recommend is that remote wireless. Okay, this thing, very affordable. It's a 2-pack. I think it was around $25 on Amazon, and I can go across my shop. It doesn't have to be in direct line with that eye. It'll, as you can see, pick it up, and it'll reach it from across the shop. So this is a pretty good little deal here. Other than that, head on over to Wackey Worx and check out his video. He got some impressive numbers, and he's gonna let you know on the next project we're gonna collaborate on. He designed a blast gate that's gonna probably take away any of the restriction that we're seeing with these. And he's gonna elaborate more on it on his video, and that's gonna be a cool project that we're all gonna get involved and design and make with the CNC and try to get this out available to all y'all, but he'll describe more about it in his video. So that being said, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. We think it's some very good information, and you can build this on a budget, and that's what we were trying to set out to do also, and show that you can make yourself a 2-stage dust collector with the Harbor Freight. So just to give you an idea what this project ran, This separator here with the barrel was $325 from Grizzly. The filter was $260. So, you know, we're about $585 in there. I had the dust collector. I bought it on Craigslist probably 8 years ago or so for 40 bucks. Total, I'm not gonna put all the fittings in here. This will be available if somebody's interested. Y'all can hit me up on my Instagram at Joey Steel Blade or comment below, and we can talk about it and I can get you one. The Fernco, all that, it just depends on how you're gonna wanna set it up. All the other stuff I'm not included. So even if you were to do the impeller upgrade, that'll take you up to 700. And if you were to have to go buy the dust collector at full price, but you can get that with coupons, so let's just say 200 bucks, you're probably still right shy of $1,000 for a 2 horsepower, 2-stage. The way it's set up with that port, you can very easily collect on a shop, and Matt's going to show you that. His system is real good, and he'll show you how he set it up. So anyhow, that being said, thank y'all. Please comment below, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get updates on future videos that we put out, and we'll catch y'all later. Bye now. Hello. Test. Test. All right, had to make sure my microphones are working.